Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions, the channel that looks to answer exactly those. I'm Rebecca Felgate, and today we are talking about racism. Racism is defined as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. But why? Why are people racist? That is exactly what we're going to try and find out today. Biologically speaking, there is no such thing as race. That is to say, you cannot look at a person's DNA and identify their race. Sociologically speaking, cultures and ethnicities exist, but race does not. It is a construct. We are all skin and bones. We all breathe air into our lungs. We all bleed when we are wounded. So what exactly is the motivation behind racism? Well, it all extends back to the dawn of man and our tribal, animalistic instincts. Humans are instinctively tribal, but it is important to note that humans have never really been lone wolves. Ever since the beginning of our timeline, our prehistoric ancestors soon learned that they needed a group to survive. This group had to be big enough to allow for protection from predators, but not so big that man was under threat by other men. Broadly sweeping over the timeline, this then led to the development of tribes and competition for resources, pitting groups against one another and making man defensive. When tribes saw another group doing better than they were, they became scared, and this fear led to fierce competition. Since then, competition, possession, defense, and the formation of cliques became human nature, and this became the start point for what we now know as racism. Essentially, it all boils down to the fear of the other. Back in those days, that kind of behavior was less destructive, as coming across another tribe in a sparsely populated world was much less likely. Fast forward thousands of years, and our planet is now home to 7 billion people. Over that time, as the distance between people became much smaller, it no longer made sense to be tribal. Instead, it made more sense to work together locally to form a town, a city, a country, all with common goals. But that did not diminish the sense of competition humans felt. This did not diminish the fear of the other. This is how the human race went from fighting their neighbor to instead fighting another country. This was a broader development of racism. Even the fact that we were able to fight, able to kill in wars and invasions, goes to show how removed people became from the other. Psychological studies have shown that people are more likely to team up with those they share common attributes with, and are less likely to hurt beings that they can understand. Humans' lack of understanding when it came to people that were removed from their own spheres and ways of life meant that it was easier to dehumanize the other, clearing consciences when it came to murder and indeed enslavement. Another root cause of racism is self-esteem. Humans as species like to think that we're better than others, and that we and our group, our people, are the best and have the best way of doing things. The problem is that this self-esteem boost is often achieved by looking down on others that we do not consider to be in our group. Stemming from our innate need to boost our own self-esteem, we also have our need to pass blame, another root source of racism. Generally speaking, people do not like to admit fault of their own or fault of their group, instead finding it easier to blame others for their own bad fortune rather than spending the time examining where, how, or why their group may have gone wrong. When selecting who to blame, again, it's easier to select those that we have less in common with. Of course, these are the roots of racism, but in civilized societies, where we no longer cook fresh kills on open flames, relieve ourselves in bushes, and procreate with any available partner, in a society where we have learned languages, found the ability to create mass shelters, cure disease, and live comfortable lives, why? Why are people still racist? Well, the answer is simple. These days, racism is less a tribal instinct than it is a learned behavior. Children are pliable and pick up their behavior from their surroundings and the people they spend most time with, first from their parents, then to their friends and teachers. So why? Why are people racist? Ultimately, racism comes from a tribal instinct, fear of difference, and the struggle to understand something that is different from what we already know and have been brought up to believe. Like many of our old, outdated beliefs and values, racism can be tackled by an openness to change, a desire to understand and integrate with people that are different to us. We already know that diversity is strength, not weakness. It is in the very fabric of our genetic makeup. The good news is, while we aren't there yet, racism can be overcome. By asking simple questions such as, why are people racist? We are already opening up a dialogue for change. Thank Thank you for watching today's episode of Life's Biggest Questions. While we have looked at the root cause of racism, we have not yet fully investigated why people continue to be racist, which perhaps would make for a great follow-up episode. If you have any thoughts on the topic or would like to develop the conversation further, do leave us a comment in the comment section down below. For now, I'm Rebecca Felgate. This is Life's Biggest Questions. Remember, stay curious, stay alert, and never, ever, ever stop questioning.